Welcome to episode 4 of Okon Bros.
I think we have to stop saying welcome to episode 4. What if we're like on episode 200? You going to count?
Yes, 110%.
Really?
We have a very special guest today.
I don't know who this lady is. We just met her outside and said, would you like to be interviewed in our podcast? She said, sure. I have nothing else to do now.
Story of my life.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mom.
Thanks for having me here.
This is our mom,
Bros.
Phyllis Okon, who is the founder,
Phyllis Karen Hornick Okon.
founder of BLS, creator of the Okon Boys.
Creator of the Okon Boys.
That's an awesome title.
It is. You should put that on your card.
Yeah.
I made these two idiots.
I don't think you're idiots. I think you're very special.
That's not what you say when the cameras are off. You idiots.
No, that was your dad.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you always back this up.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
How does it feel to be an icon in this in the travel industry? Because I from what we've done in the past year and a half since Dad passed, we have gone and we've met with some incredible people, and everyone always says the same thing: Phyllis is here. Phyllis is here. They stop everything they're doing. Phyllis is here. Phyllis is here. What does it feel to reach that status? I mean, I know you're very humble and you're not cocky. You know, I'm not trying to sell you at all, but like, I've known you now for 41 years. I've been closer to you than Dad has in some respects. I want to know what it feels like to hit that status. And I don't want to even talk about books yet, because like that could be a whole other podcast. Yeah. How does it feel to reach Metallica level status, right? Metallica is an icon in the music industry. Madonna is an icon in the music industry. Phyllis Okon is an icon in the travel industry.
Thank you. By the way, thank you. But to say that I have when they say Phyllis is here, I hear mommy is here. Right. That's what I hear. I don't hear Phyllis is here, that the icon is here. I'm doing this 48 years. Right. 48 years sitting on the phone. I know these people the way I feel like I know my own kids. Mm-hmm. I've been through their graduating college. Some of these people who are presidents now, I met them when they were in the mailroom. Mm-hmm. When they would call me and say, oh my God, I have to look good. And I worked with them hand in hand. You remember the phones in the kitchen, right? Sure. We had an ingoing and an outgoing. So we were learning together. Mm-hmm. I had babies in the background, and they were tolerant of, me throwing up when I was pregnant with Eric, and, you answering the phone and saying, my mommy will be right there. Mm-hmm. They really stood by me. So, we kind of built the business. And then as I learned more, one of the tenets I've always taught you is share your knowledge. Share. Don't be greedy with what you know. Mm-hmm. Always offer to help, network. Even if you don't like that, even if the person's not really with you, it doesn't matter. Always be positive and share. So I have a reputation of sharing whatever I know and helping people. So when I hear Phyllis is here, I'm not hearing icon or Metallica status. I'm mm-hmm. hearing, oh my God, Phyllis is here. She'll always help you. Mm-hmm. She'll give you a hand.
Yeah, that's how you lived your life.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whether it was parents in the carpool or, another mother or, a grandparent. I mean, Why
don't we start from the beginning? Give your version, or give the version of how BLS was created.
It's an interesting story, because my whole life it was all about getting an education, and then I met your dad, who was an immigrant, and I pushed him to go to school. So he went to school for about an hour, and he said,
he never graduated college, or he did graduate college?
He didn't graduate college.
Who knows if he graduated high school?
Yeah.
No, I think he did. He told me, he says, you can't get to the Army if you don't graduate high school. That's what he told me. I mean, he could have been lying, but
who knows?
I don't know.
Now I know where my son gets his hatred for school from.
Well, he had a lot, because he came to the country where he ended up as an immigrant too. So he never quite fit in anywhere he was. And, mm-hmm. He came to this country in the 70s, and he didn't speak English much when I met him. And I pushed mm-hmm. him to go to Nassau Community. I thought he'd make a great physical therapist, that he was the most caring man I had ever met. He could look at you and know what your issue was. And I didn't know, but he started driving to make money for an engagement ring for me. He started driving for a buddy. And so once he started driving, he just loved it. And he saw opportunity. He was a visionary, and his biggest issue was he couldn't verbalize it, because language was hard for him. And even once he learned English, he couldn't sell that way. It just wasn't as natural for him. We all followed him because we saw the success he had. But I was really the one who would talk, and I was his mouthpiece. So he started.
Did Dad sit down and say, "This is what I want"?
Yeah, he did.
Sat you down at the table and said,
he did.
So like, I remember you guys would always say that you guys had a plan. What was your plan?
Well, when he started driving, and he made enough money for the ring, and I was graduating. I went to college, Queens College, and I was a social studies teacher. I got my degree in 3 years because I went summers because, it was always with me, rush. Right? I had to help him. He needed money. I worked 2 jobs and I lived at home, and whatever I made, I gave it to him so that he could survive. And he was cleaning basements. He was driving up and down the LIE, fixing cars that were broken down back in those days. It was just different. And that would give him pocket money. So he came to me and he said, I think I can make a lot of money doing this. And I said, are you kidding? I mean, who uses limousines?
Back then it was, to be successful, you had to be a doctor, lawyer, and accountant.
Right. Like who uses a limousine?
Entrepreneurship wasn't.
It's not only that, Eric.
There's always been entrepreneurs, Eric. It's just in the car service business, it was in its infancy. I mean, you go watch The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio. They had a premiere at Man's Chinese Theater, and that was back in the 1930s, right? Then the 20s or 30s or something.
There were always company. Yeah, there was Ascot, and there was Harvey's in New York. And we didn't know about those kind of things. I mean, even when I went to college, I think I would have been, had I known about publicity, I probably would have been a great publicist.
Right.
But it wasn't even you were either a nurse. You got the choice of a nurse,
teacher,
or secretary.
You wanted
a teacher, which is what I took. I wanted to be a lawyer.
So what was your and Dad's plan?
Well, so when he sat down with me in my mom's kitchen and said, I'm going to do this, I was horrified. I said, people don't use cars. You use your parents to go to the airport. Who uses cars? And he says, I'm telling you, there is a way to make money with this. So he started by working the Empire State Building. He would go in, and there were a group of hustlers. They called them hustlers. And he used to park in front of the Empire State Building and pick people up who were leaving, the building at 5 o'clock.
Going home, going to the airport.
Right. And he started building a client list, and they would start to call him. And then we got married, and I was teaching, I was subbing, and he didn't want me to sub. So he said, I really need you to sit home.
Was that a hard choice for you?
Yeah. Well, I love teaching. I enjoyed it. I saw a career for myself.
Did you give him heat? You said,
no,
I can't.
I never get, no.
So you said, he said, I don't want you to teach anymore. I want you to become the first female dispatcher.
He didn't know. That's not how it happened. He said, I need you to be home to help me build this business. It wasn't like,
so it really was his idea.
Yeah, it was his idea. Wow. And, I remember going to my parents and saying, well, I'm giving up teaching. He wants me. And they were like, we sent you to college. You graduated. You're working. I said, but right now I don't have a regular job. I'm just subbing. They were paying me $100 a day. It costs more for me to get
$100 a day or $100 a week?
$100 a day.
It wasn't bad.
That's not bad.
But by the time you cleared and the car and the gas and I used to sit fully dressed at 6 a.m. waiting to see if I would get a call. I would lay in bed fully dressed, waiting to see if I would get picked to sub for the day. And is I think 109 days to the year. So do the math. It wasn't a lot of money. And I was teaching all the way in Plainview. We lived in Queens, and it was a schlep. So I said, look, okay, I'll do this, but on one condition. I want to start a family now. Because all my friends.
Were you married then?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. We were married about a month. Right. And so I had said to him, I'm happy to do it, but.
Was it exciting to start a startup? I mean, I know.
First of all, we didn't know it was a startup. I didn't know what those. You guys really have taught me a lot. We didn't know it was a startup. It was just you were surviving. You were surviving, and if I could help him because he couldn't get on the phone. You see, I would start on Wednesdays. I would pick up the phone on Wednesdays and start calling all the other limo services in the yellow pages of Queens and ask them if they had any extra wedding work on the weekends. I would look for, funerals. If you got a funeral, it was great because that was good money. Right. So we would look for a funeral, or we would look for weddings. So I would try to book him up for Saturday. The max you could do is 3 weddings Saturday and 2 weddings on Sunday. And
so funny that when we were looking for venues for Alex's bar mitzvah, we came across this venue in Bayville, Long Island, and this limo guy, Kresge.
Oh,
right?
yeah, right.
That?
Yeah, he was one of the first.
The same guys that were doing the limos back when Dad started. Fast forward 50 years later.
Right. It was his son.
It was his son. His son's doing it now. Right.
Yeah.
But like his son is now doing the wedding business.
Right.
It's some guys, he's clearly making a living. He's doing fine.
That guy, Eddie Kresge, the father, taught me so much. And I was the first girl doing this. And you got to know, I was 20 years old.
Right.
And I would call up and say, hi, I have a car available. And
so you started with farm out work.
I started with farm out work.
And then Dad hustling.
And Dad hustled the city. And then he made a connection at Bermuda Limo, which was like iconic. Bermuda was, and
they
it still is. They still wonderful service.
Right.
And Bob from Bermuda, Bob Verdi, was a terrific guy. He was such a nice man.
Talk about a legend.
Yeah.
Talk about an icon.
Right.
Yeah. He created the industry as we know it.
He was
the quintessential New York company.
Right.
He was a terrific, and I used to call his dispatchers.
So what did you learn from Bob Verdi? What did he teach you?
Everything. I would call him up and I would say,
how do you price a ride?
Exactly.
Right.
Do I take this ride? What do I do? And he used to give us farm out work. And
Dad still, to the day he died, he still talked about going to the Republican National Convention when Reagan got inaugurated.
Not only he went,
80, right?
But at that point, my father owned a car. He had a 75 limo that we bought from a guy named Tiny in Roslyn.
Oh my God.
And when your grandfather sold his store, he had no way to make a living. He was 65 years old.
Well, who made your first limo that you bought?
It was Jacob Javits' old car. We bought it. It was a 69.
You borrowed $1,200.
$1,200 from my little brother, from the youngest brother.
Big shout out to Stewie Hornick.
Yeah, yes.
Lightning Roadside
all day.
Yeah.
Jane Glass and Matthew Robbie.
Yeah. And so Stuart was a big old 13 and he loaned me $1,275 and we bought the first car. We paid him back and Dad jumped right in to work,
What was the aha moment for you when you realized you can make a living doing this?
There's an aha moment.
We're still there.
I'm waiting.
Well, I was talking about this with Anthony and stuff. I still feel like we're a 50-year startup. Every day it feels like we're behind and we're going to make it. We're going to make it and we're going to make it. And while we're successful and we're solid, it's just amazing to keep trying to get there. And what you realize is that you never get there. It's all about the process
100%
of doing it.
Well, you know what it is.
If you can't enjoy this, you're going to hate you're not going to be able to be an entrepreneur.
No, that's right. And you have to live. I have a friend who's a teacher.
Right.
And so she used to often say to me, I couldn't live like you. Like I never knew what we were going to have.
Oh, what's Tony Robbins says it's uncertainty.
Yes.
That's the thrill of it all. Is that the uncertainty is you don't know if you're going to make it or not. I mean, right now what's happening with our book business,
right?
You don't know if it's going to get made into a movie. I mean, it's not making much money. It's paying for a few lunches a week, but like that's about it.
It's paying for more than a few lunches. It's paying for a staff of one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's paying for publicity. It's paying for the marketing.
Yeah, but when I say lunches, it's a small.
It's no money.
There's no money in it.
No.
But getting to the next level,
the process,
right? And I bet you when you get to the next level, there's a level above that, and then there's a level above that.
Michael and I would always talk, and we're like, "It's going to change when we get this account." And then we get the account and it never changes.
It does change. I'll tell you how it changed.
But then we shift our sights onto something else.
The joke is between Eric and I, the joke is when we get this mega account, we're finally going to be happy. And happiness comes every day. Happiness doesn't come when you get an account.
Listen, what it is that what changes is if it's just the two of you, or if it was just Daddy and me, we would have had that aha moment. But every time we took on the responsibility of providing service to these high volume and important, these Fortune 500 accounts, we had to invest in the company. So it changed the dynamic.
Every step of the way.
And we're still doing it. Right. Here, this year has been monumental in bringing on, but what have we poured back into the company?
Everything. Yeah.
So it's not that you're actually directly benefiting.
Right.
It's all a building.
It's just building, right.
To me, it's a giant crap game. 100%. And we are just going for the gold. You know?
Explain your obsession with craps.
It's your
our
fault.
mother, it is my fault. The Desert Inn, 1998, it was New Year's 1998. I was at the Desert Inn and I said, I was,
don't tap the table.
Sorry. I was, I don't remember how old I was. I think I just turned 21. And I said, oh no, I was 20 years old.
I was actually on a cruise.
No.
It was the Desert
Inn, DI. Nope.
Yeah,
Desert Inn, 1998. It was New Year's. We were with Zadie and Zoff.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not playing blackjack. I'm not playing roulette. It's boring. I want to learn craps. And I went to a craps table and I learned craps. And then a trip or two later, I showed Mom, and I'm saying this now embarrassingly, our mother is the largest craps player on the Vegas Strip. Female craps player
on the Strip.
Yeah, and that's not something
very proud of Mom.
Yeah, we are pretty proud.
So, Mom, what we always compare craps to business,
right?
Do you think that's why you like it so much?
Because without a doubt,
it's just the thrill of it.
It's the thrill. It's the anticipation.
The momentum.
It's building momentum. It's the anticipation. It's the excitement. And I do like not knowing. I mean, when I think back,
you like the certainty of it. You still like the certainty of it. You like knowing that, like, we're going to get this account, or we're opening in the city. It's going to be successful.
Can I tell you something? I'm very positive. I always feel that it's going to be successful.
Yeah,
I go into everything knowing that we are going to make it work.
Right.
You know, make it work. We're going to do everything.
But that's how you feel about walking up to a craps table. You say, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to hit my roll. I'm going to roll for an hour. Even if you don't, you still.
And just like in business and in craps, those dice, it's unpredictable, and you never know what's going to happen.
You turn the unpredictability to. I always feel that nothing happens without a reason. Everything happens for a reason. So if you don't get it this time, it's coming up, and you're going to be better at it. You're going to be better prepared, and you're going to make it work.
Right.
I'm the eternal optimist. Right. I am always, for me, and your father was the eternal pessimist.
Yep.
And you need that yin and yang.
Right.
Just like between.
No, you don't.
You do. You have to have all different points of view. And
you need a devil's advocate. You definitely need a devil's advocate.
Right. Just like I'm more practical than you, you're more of a dreamer.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's our yin and yang, and it works.
Absolutely. I'm always right.
Maybe eventually, but
I have
cooler heads will always prevail.
I can't do what you do, and I know you see my vision, and I understand when you're cool, calm, and collected. When like, come on, let's open up in Washington, let's open up here, let's open up there. You go, okay, well, let's put the cards on the table and see what's worth it and what's not.
Well, listen, opening up in DC, Albuquerque, Chicago, Atlanta,
Hartford,
and Stamford in 1 year is pretty damn ambitious.
Right.
6 cities in 1 year.
Right.
We're definitely building a ridiculous brand and product here.
Right.
But
in addition to New York, LA, and Vegas.
Yeah. And that's just this year.
Right.
But, being concerned.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, kids.
Yeah.
You guys did it. I mean,
hang on. How long have I wanted to?
Our whole lives.
Decades.
We weren't ready.
I know.
We weren't ready.
I know.
Daddy couldn't do that.
I know.
No, he
wasn't traveling to Atlanta.
No, it wasn't that. He didn't want you to understand. He was afraid of risking. Daddy, as much as he was a risk taker, once he got sick, he became everything changed for him.
Right.
And fear holds you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was just trying to hold on to his world had shattered. So it was 14 years. I mean, he was the longest living.
Eric and I had front row seats.
Yeah.
We saw it every day.
He had an amazing run considering the scope of his disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the only thing he felt he could control was to keep what he felt was the business intact his way.
Why? How did you learn to go after the entertainment industry? We are the number one ground travel vendor. I'm not trying to sell this to the audience. Whoever's listening, whoever's not listening. BLS is the number one ground travel vendor to all the studios and networks.
Let me stop you right there. We didn't know anything.
So you would have just stayed with proms if Dad wasn't like, start going after Hollywood.
No, he didn't say it like that. What happened when Hollywood came to us? We didn't go to Hollywood. He was actually pretty big in the garment industry and the shoe industry. His first client that he was driving full time.
Bob Campbell.
No, it was actually Mike Goldstein, and then Bob Campbell was what BBC Imports was one of the companies that that Mike brought us.
And we all signed confidentiality agreements.
Right.
So,
well, they're in the industry. They if you read any trade papers, you're going to find. Well, Mike, of course, passed away 40 years ago, but he was driving, and we were building a customer base in the industry. I mean, up until recently, because many of those guys are now retired or they've passed away. We were still driving a lot of these garment companies based on what Dad picked up.
When you first started.
When we first started, Howland Apparel. There were a lot of them around.
Right.
What happened was Dave L., a company by the name of Dave L., right?
That was back when David Klein
created it. Right, which Daddy knew David Klein.
I actually think it's Davel. We always say Davel.
Yeah, but it's
Davel.
Who gives a shit?
Well, it was
like,
David,
really? We're going to...
I think, listen.
It was based on David Klein.
Big shout out to Dave L. and Scott Sombrino. Great guy.
Love Scott.
We love Scott.
Love Scott. Scott's an icon. You're talking about an icon.
It's very
Scott's an icon.
Absolutely.
So, and the L was Mitchell, which was David Klein's lover.
Speak into the
so, anyhow.
Don't be so close to it.
Anyhow, what had happened was...
Right.
There was a company out in LA by the name of BLS. And Al Altman was the owner.
At the time, your New York operation was called
Columbus.
Was called 4-Star.
No, 4-Star Limo.
Columbus.
Columbus.
Things confused here. It's 4-Star Limo.
It was 4-Star Limo or first class.
No, you were 4-Star.
We were 4-Star, and so we started as first class, then went to 4-Star, I think, or it was the other way around. I don't remember. And he needed a New York affiliate. So he gave us 2 accounts. We took you in the car. One guy was running in the New York Marathon, and Daddy had never been to Staten Island. So we put you in the car. It was in the middle of a hurricane. It was around this time of the year.
Crazy. How old was I?
You were 8 months. Well, you were born in May, so figure out. It was September.
Wow.
So
5 months old.
Yeah, without a car seat because we didn't have one.
4 months old. Yeah.
And we took you to where the New York, to the starting point of the New York Marathon in Staten Island.
Right.
And I remember being on the Verrazano Bridge, and the waves were coming up to the bridge. It was like a hurricane, but he needed to know how to go. There was no Waze. We used maps. He couldn't read maps because English was hard for him. So he had a lot of challenges. Yeah, he had
dinosaurs,
giant paper maps strewn across the front. And I used to outline where he had to go on the map in marker.
I remember those days.
I mean, it was like Cro-Magnon. And the guy gave us 2 accounts, and we pulled it off. And then he kept saying, you should change your name to BLS. And we really thought a long time.
It wasn't we should do this.
No, we were afraid to change our name. But we held. I remember we would lay in bed at night and we'd hold hands and we'd say, well, what do you want to do? And we'd say, well, let's give it a shot. And you talk about plans. We always had a 5-year plan. So Daddy said, let's try it. Let's give it 5 years. And that's how we planned our entire life. Everything was in 5 years. And we said, okay, we'll change the name. And I ordered the phone book for LA, the Yellow Pages. And it had an egg timer. So I used to put you downstairs and you'd watch TV in the den, Sesame Street. From 4 to 5, you'd watch Sesame Street. And I would sit with the Yellow Pages, and I started at A. And I didn't stop until I got to Z with that little egg timer, so I wouldn't go over 3 minutes because we couldn't afford it.
Yeah, and you just started cold calling?
Cold calling and saying, my husband owns a business. And I wouldn't get anywhere when I said that. So I started saying, I own a business. And all of a sudden, these assistants and secretaries or whatever would say, you know what, I'll give you a shot. And I would call them back.
You can't believe, I'm sorry for interrupting. It's a great story. I want you to continue. You can't believe how powerful a cold call is. That people are genuinely, if you come off a certain way, if you come off all salesy and everything, it doesn't work. But I have made 1 million cold calls in my life, and you can't believe on how open people are.
Well, it's also timing. It's all about timing.
Yeah, it's all the universe has to be on your side, and just right place, right timing. But it's a brute force game. Cold calling.
Yeah. It's hard. It takes a lot of guts.
So you were cold calling at people in LA from your kitchen in New York?
In New York, directly from the Yellow Pages.
Right.
And back then I had this photographic memory like yours. I don't have it anymore. I think my brain is too cluttered.
Right.
And I used to just remember names. I remembered that, Joan or Aisha, whoever it was, I would remember. And
you still have those books too.
I do. I do.
Funny.
I have those phone books, and I would write down mother sick, single, has a child, whatever it was.
Oh, you talked about everything but use my service. You
right.
said hi,
Right.
Yeah.
And we talk about homework. We talked about all kinds of things. And I tell you the story all the time about how when the first time we went out there, Daddy sat in the car with you guys, and I went in and I would wait in the ante room with the assistant while all the other limo guys are being ushered into the office with the executives, and nobody wanted to talk to me. But, I made the best out of the situation. So I would sit out there with the secretaries and I'd make them laugh or we'd talk. And what nobody realized was who's ordering the cars.
The secretaries.
That's right.
Oh, in this day and age, the politically correct term is executive assistant.
Yeah, right. And, and that's how we built it, one client at a time. And each person.
What was your big break? Who is it that said, you're in, let's do it, let's go? And you knew that there was no going back to teaching.
I'm going to say Connie Casella.
Big shout out to Connie Casella.
We became amazing friends with the Casellas.
Who is Connie Casella?
Connie Casella was head of Paramount Travel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Paramount Studios.
And we didn't have a lot of account. It was Linda Kennedy, who was also a huge person for me to meet. And she was giving us Universal, Lou Wasserman. And, we were getting, that was also a huge turning point when I went into that Universal office and I landed Linda Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
She was given to us by Al, and I nurtured her.
And please no, we're not revealing our clients. This is what happened
in the early 80s,
30 years ago.
Well, Linda's retired, and Connie, of course, retired 20 years ago. But I said to Linda, who else can I meet here? I need more. And she said, Connie Casella. And Eric was 3 months old, and he was on the bed. There's a picture of me. Daddy took a picture of me on the phone with Connie, and I was playing with Eric on the bed. He was laying on the pillows, and I was tickling his belly. And I called Connie, and she said, well, I said, we were out of money. We couldn't stay the extra day. We were there for 6 days. And she said, well, I can't see you. She said, but I'll give you a try. And again, it's timing. She was having trouble with the
current vendor.
Right. And she said, I'll give you a shot. But I didn't know if she was actually going to do it. We went back to New York, and I called her a few times, and she said, all right. And she gave me the head of procurement. And I remember, I didn't even know what procurement was.
Oh my God. When you get the head of procurement in,
I had no idea.
Yep.
And she
procurements are gods in any system.
In corporate travel.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
They're amazing.
So at this point, did BLS of LA close down yet? The original BLS?
No, they were still there.
Okay, so get into where BLS closed, and then you had it was all happening at the same time.
That was about when it happened.
Right.
So when I met Connie, what was happening was it was a father and son in LA, and as with a lot of people in this industry, they just felt stuck and they wanted to make more. So they bought a bus, and buses are either, great, or they're the kiss of death in this industry. And what happened was they
didn't manage it well. I think these days people are managing it way better. There's way more regulation. The buses are made better.
Right.
But back then that put BLS LA out of business.
Yeah. They went out of business. They went bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Dad always said buses were a curse.
Yeah.
And we don't own buses in our fleet. And that's the first thing we tell people when we're in an RFP. We don't own the buses. We're not a bus company. We can get you buses. But it was never our business.
It wasn't. Daddy always said, stick with what you know.
Right.
That was something.
Dad loved the idea of luxury.
Chauffeured car.
Yeah. Right. No, he loved Mercedes and Lincolns.
Well, you have to understand, he was a control freak, and he could even fix the car. Like, he knew every aspect.
I never even thought of that.
Oh, no, Michael.
He couldn't fix a bus. So.
Right. That was really important to him. Right. He could always fix a car.
So BLS LA closed, and then what happened?
We went on our merry way, and
they didn't open up in LA right away.
We weren't interested in it. We were fine the way we were.
Running the house out of your home,
running the business out of them.
running the business out of your home.
We had
those were fun days.
Yeah,
those were so fun,
and we were doing great. At that point, your grandfather's store had closed, so he got a car, and I was farming out work to him, and he was doing a little work. I think we had 3 cars. I still did wedding work on the weekends, and we were doing during the week. We had, these accounts that would call us. There's a famous story about how you had spilled Cheerios all over the upstairs, Michael.
Yeah.
And
that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And I went and I vacuumed and the phone rang and I missed the call.
Yeah.
And I ran down and I was so upset, and there was no star 69. You couldn't find out who called back then.
Yeah.
So I went through my phone book calling every single client until I got to R, and I found out who had called us, and he said, "Oh my God."
Look at this. You built a beautiful business without the internet.
Right.
You built a beautiful business without cell phones,
right.
without computers,
without apps, without
podcasts. You built a business. What is anyone's excuse to say I can't do it? To not take the tools that are available to everyone now. Fear,
and not cooperating. For instance, Jane, your Aunt Jane, was working in some place, and she would say, "I don't know how you make so much money." And I turned to her and I said, "I don't know how you're not." And she, she thought about it, and
I think her mind exploded when you said that.
I did, and she always brings up that story. And then I said, Stuart is never going to get ahead if you don't team up. Like if you're not going to team up with him, you can't. It's really, really hard to build a business alone. You need your whole family involved.
Well, Napoleon Hill calls it the mastermind group. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich says, if you want to build a business, it was Ford's business, but Henry Ford had a group of people executing his vision.
Right.
He couldn't do it himself. Henry Ford, I think, didn't even graduate high school. But, there was a great story in Think and Grow Rich where he says, where he was being sued for something. And the lawyer said, "Mr. Ford, what's the capital of Hungary?" And he says, "Hold on." And he tells his assistant, "Go get me the person to know what the capital of Hungary is." And he's like, "No, I want you to answer." He goes, "I don't need to know it. My team needs to know it so we can grow."
Right. But that was exactly how Daddy.
Right. When you have a mastermind group, and Stuart and Jane have that mastermind group,
100%.
They have the support in their family to flourish and to grow their business. The four of us we included.
Yeah, we're including Kevin. The only reason why Kevin isn't here is we're missing a set of headphones. So
right.
We're going to get.
We didn't really feel like talking about like bourbon and scotch for an hour. Bourbon, scotch, poker, and
when we say
meat.
The four of us, right?
I'm talking about Dad. It's Dad, Mom.
Okay.
The four of us, the mastermind group, and then bring in Marilyn, bring in Vinny, bring in Kevin, bring in Marvin and George,
right?
Bring in Mike Rappaport,
Nick.
Bring in Nick, bring in Arlene, bring in these people who helped execute, bring in Kushner, who helped execute Mom and Dad's vision, because there was a point where you had to get off the seat, right? You couldn't be making the cold calls.
And Carl,
everyone, Carl,
everybody, we're saying everybody. We
Crystal,
right
now,
Anthony.
Now, like we're enlarging
Travis
Travis
William, Travis William, and
Travis William.
It's like choosing children.
I couldn't do what Travis does. And we learned that lesson when we opened in Vegas. And I sat down and I thought I was like, I used to be able to.
Queen Dispatch.
Right.
Who just got dethroned.
Yeah. I got
real quick story. We opened in Vegas the first year, and we were having a hard time hiring people. And we had, it was CES, but there was a convention before CES. I don't remember what it was called.
The Porn Star Convention.
No, that was 2 years
Cement.
after.
It was Cement.
No, it wasn't the Cement Convention. I think it was CES. It was like a year or two into our opening in Vegas.
We literally had no idea what CES was. This was 20 years ago.
Right.
We didn't know what it was.
And I was taking work. I was like, take it. Sure, no problem. And we only had a 15-car license back then. And I remember turning to the two of you. You guys were dispatching. Mercy, big shout out to Mercy Medina for opening Vegas with us. She was at USA Dispatcher, and we put her in Vegas because she volunteered. Who wants to go to Vegas? Mercy's like, I'll go. So we put her in Vegas, and she did a great job.
And then all of a sudden, 1:00 was hitting,
and we had 100 rides to cover, and we were like, we have 15 cars. We tried calling farm outs, and
that was the last time we sat at dispatch.
We
completely blew that.
Never again. It's not like that today.
Right. Well, because you have experts you've trained.
Right. But the mastermind group is people getting together with a common vision. And I think that you
and Dad always had a common vision.
You and Dad surrounded yourself with people who shared that same vision.
No, we convinced them. No, it was a matter of convincing them.
Right.
Daddy was way ahead of his time for our group.
Right.
My father was stick your nose to the grindstone and work until you drop. I mean, he
felt that way with the hardware store.
Yeah. He had no way of knowing where Dad was going, and Daddy couldn't verbalize it because he didn't speak the language well enough to say, this is what I want to do. And in all fairness, he didn't even know he knew what he wanted, but he didn't know how to get there.
Right.
It's like, people ask how we did it. And I always say we made it up as we went along. It was trial and error. And we didn't see anything as mistakes so much as learning experiences. Everything we did.
You still do, right?
Yeah. We take away from it and say, okay, we're never doing that again.
All right. So you know what? I want to ask you a question. Your favorite pastime, besides obviously seeing the grandchildren and all that stuff, how has yoga made you a better businesswoman?
Well, yoga teaches me not to react. First of all, yoga's really been important.
How'd you start yoga? Like, what's the story with yoga? Because just a kind of a thing before we begin. You've been doing yoga for 20 years.
15.
But not only that, you are a cancer survivor and a heart attack survivor.
That's right.
Right.
Because, yeah.
And we think that, I'm listening to this great guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza now. This guy is unbelievable. And he says that all disease is created by stress.
Yeah.
And you activate these genes through stress that cause the cancer and the heart disease and whatnot.
When Dad and my mom got cancer within 3 months, lung cancer, and I knew my mom.
What year was that?
That was in 2004. And I knew my mom was terminal from the start, and they pretty much said Daddy was terminal. He was stage 3B lung cancer.
Turn your head into the microphone because it's kind of hard to hear you.
He was stage 3B lung cancer. And so she was diagnosed in February. He was diagnosed in May, the first week of May. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I was going to have to take care of both of them and the business and you kids. You were still, you still needed me. Mm-hmm. Sure. And I knew that I was just out of cancer. I think it was 4 years, and out of my heart attack 7 years. So I knew I had to take care of myself. So I asked Robin if she would come to that. I knew it was Robin Appel from Always at Home Yoga. I asked her. Big plug to Robin. Yeah, Robin. She saved my life.
Yeah.
And I asked her if she would come to the house twice a week. Mm-hmm. And that 1 hour was an oasis. It was an hour twice a week. So those 2 hours were an oasis in my life. And I was really out of shape when we started. Mm-hmm. But she, I studied ballet when I was a kid. So she reawakened those muscles. She brought back the memories of those exercises. And it really helped. Yoga gave me endurance so that I could endure. And it gave me strength. And I think that, when you do stretches, it opens you up and you breathe. I mean, through the doctors were always offering me Prozac or whatever. They would say to me,
doctors doctors don't treat the root of the problem. Right. They just treat the problem.
Right. And I said, I don't need it. I'm fine. I mean, I wasn't fine emotionally. I knew, but it gave me a chance to breathe. And Robin used to she would text me all the time, breathe, don't forget to breathe. Like if she knew we were going in for tests, or there were so many times they were on the verge of dying. Like, one would go
104 fever,
104
pneumonia,
fever, collapsed lung, blood, not working the way it's supposed to work, heart attacks, all kinds of stuff was going on. And I would get one into the hospital, bring that one home, and then the other one went in. They would
it was hard.
It was hard.
It was very difficult.
And yoga, she would constantly write to me and say,
my throat just like I swallowed. My throat was like
right in my ears.
You want a bacon cheeseburger today?
Made me hungry.
I know.
So she would just write, breathe, and that's what you do. Yoga gives you time to reflect, breathe, be mindful. Before mindful was a thing.
Yoga can be anything,
right?
But you definitely need time to decompress in life.
I feel that weightlifting did that for me personally. That weightlifting, you put a stress on your shoulders, you put a stress on your arms, and it just makes the muscle bigger. And I feel that I've been weightlifting now. We tried it years ago, 20 years ago. We tried going to the gym and really changing our bodies.
Well, my success with exercise is that you have to do it every day.
100%.
Every day.
Some form of physical exercise.
A little bit every day.
Right.
That's the key though.
Yeah,
that's a little bit.
A little bit every single day. And that works for me. Not to say some people may want to work out 3 times a week for 2 hours a day. That's fine. Right. For me, I like exercising 10 or 15 minutes a day.
Did you do that today? Did you work out today?
No, not today.
Okay. But what do you do? Like,
I'm going to do later this afternoon.
But what do you do? What's your schedule?
Wake up at around 5, go down to the basement, do my exercise routine, take a shower, come to work. I'm usually here by about 6:15.
What kind of exercises do you do?
I don't think I really want to get into that because this isn't a health.
Well, no,
this isn't a health show.
My point. No, I know that. The point is that what are you doing to allow that discipline? Because
but the point is that it doesn't matter. People have to figure that out for themselves.
Right.
I don't want to give that advice. I can give advice on the universe. I don't want to give advice on specific things. I just want to tell people what I'm doing, and then they can make their own judgment calls and do what's right for them.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this is to me the beauty of yoga. And right now I bought myself a bike. You know that. You guys were against it, but I bought a helmet.
It's not a Peloton.
Yeah, it's not a Peloton.
I was never against the bike.
Yeah, everybody
love that you're on a bike.
Yeah, but I stay in our little development and I wear a helmet and I'm careful. I have my phone on me. And I don't do anything silly. So the point is, what do you think about when you're doing exercise?
Right. That's the point.
That's the
you're
point.
Concentrating on the muscle. That's
the whole point.
You're resting.
Yep.
Right.
You're resting your brain. We don't rest anymore.
Right.
Daddy was a big proponent of resting. I mean, I wasn't. And he used to make me sit down in the afternoon. And he said, I don't care what you do. You're going to sit down and that's what he did with you guys. 4:00, the house shut down.
Right.
And he wanted you.
It's so funny.
Siesta time.
Morgan Spurlock, he did Super Size Me. He did some great documentaries. He's now my friend on LinkedIn. And I looked at his page and he had this thing saying, is busy or better? Does busy mean that you're having a more productive day? I didn't read the entire article, but that's something similar to what you said, that we're busy, but are you getting anything accomplished? Are you really, you're pushing yourself unnecessarily and you're not even getting anything accomplished?
Before we get too much off topic here, I wanted to kind of bookend this, and I want Mom to end with how she actually opened up in LA, because we got a little bit off topic here.
So
let's go back to that, and then we should probably stop.
It doesn't matter. It's 40 minutes.
Well, listen, there'll be a part 2. So
no, listen, this is the last time she's on.
We just scratched the surface with these stories, with her experience, and stuff like that. So
what happened was a few of the 3 studios came to us, and they got
talking to the microphone.
Yeah, 3 studios came to us.
This is the last time she's on.
Yeah.
Okay, do you understand me? All right. Tell us more, Mom. Tell us more.
Okay. Yeah, just smack me over here.
I got to tell you something. Before you start that thing, you're the first person I think I've ever seen on a podcast that can do an entire podcast with a snotty tissue in her hand. Okay. Show the camera. Yeah, no, right here. Show the camera right here.
Yeah.
I've been snotty tissue.
I've been washing it the entire time.
Right? The big, powerful CEO woman. She's like,
it's your fault. You had You had the cold last week.
Did you get a cold?
I don't think so. I think it's allergy.
You better get your shit together.
Yeah, Mom. I know.
We got
we have a big trip next week.
That's why
opening up in LA. What year did we partner in LA?
I don't remember the year. I don't remember.
I think it was the late 80s.
I want to say
it was 83, 84.
No, Eric was maybe a year old, or maybe
I remember being at Universal.
That was 84, 85.
Yeah, I want to say
Eric was at Universal, and he had those chubby polkies.
My grandmother was gone, so it was 85.
It was 85.
So what happened?
She had died already.
Get to the story.
So what happened was 3 studios came to us and pretty much said, we're going to write you a blank check. You gotta do that. We need you.
Right.
And Daddy was automatic. He was always an automatic no. He said no. And you
had to convince him?
No, I wasn't sure what to do either. The primary thing for me always was my kids, my husband, my kids, my parents, my brothers, family first. It's always been family first.
Right.
And I wasn't going to travel to LA. I wasn't going to leave you kids. It was always about the children.
Right.
And they said, no, listen, you have to do this. So I left, I went to LA and I met with them and I called Dad and I said, they are suggesting Mike Rappaport, who owns Columbus Limo. That's where Columbus came in. He had 3 cars or 4 cars. And pretty much
you partnered with him.
We partnered with him. We didn't want anything. We just partnered with him.
Loved him.
Yeah, he was great.
Loved him.
I think Chris Farley running a limo service. He was the funnest
Tommy Boy. He was Tommy Boy before Tommy Boy.
He was the funnest man planet.
Eric and I still talk like him. That's how much of an impact Mike's had in our life.
He was a wonderful guy. I loved him. To me, he became a brother.
Yep.
And he was great. And
eventually the relationship stopped.
Well, what happened?
It just kind of fizzled away.
It changed.
It changed.
Yeah. It changed.
They changed. Mom and Dad changed. Mike changed, and
Mike got married, and I think he wanted a different life. This is being in the limo, and it's 24 hours.
It's unforgiving.
It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. Yeah. It takes over your life.
No one knows that except like the people, like the limo guys that are listening right now.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like you don't just go to school, mark papers at home. It's invasive. You could be.
It could be Sunday barbecue with your family, and you get an email from the travel manager.
It's immediate,
saying what happened here, and you got to jump on it. It
right.
doesn't matter, and we have spouses that understand that. We have children that understand that.
Right, that you could be at a birthday party and you get that notice, and you can't say I'll handle it on Monday.
No.
You've got to find out what happened, why it happened, and it's immediate, and life stops.
Right,
life stops.
So eventually,
he sold his portion.
And then
you're jumping ahead, though. You're jumping ahead.
Yeah,
how is the growth with Mike?
Well,
when we got to LA,
we grew the business, but at that point there was this birth of all these other companies. That's when you saw all the other, and I'm not going to mention them, but all the other companies came in. Originally, it was BLS and Dave L in LA, and Harvey and Bermuda in New York, and there was Ascot in New York, and there was an Ascot in LA, but they weren't related. And all of a sudden you saw all these guys started buying cars. This was the days before regulation.
What really ignited the LA limo industry was the Olympics.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yes.
The 88 Olympics.
Everybody bought cars for the Olympics.
Right.
Everybody bought cars. And there were no regulations then. So every guy who worked as a telephone man or whatever, they would go out and buy 2 cars. So there was this
gold rush of car services in LA. And it was so funny how the limousine was king back then, right? Like you had primarily limousines, and
there were limousines with pools in the back, with these jacuzzis in the back.
Dad was the first one to put a bar in it, right?
Daddy built a bar for his limo, his 69 limo.
Right.
He built a bar, and he bought a little TV, a little black and white TV, and he put it in with, those things that you hold your school bags with, those rubber things that they used to have that you used to hook your school bag.
Don't you wish he patented that?
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine every bar on planet Earth
we
in the
would
back
be
of a
in
car?
this godforsaken business.
Yeah. And he did other things too. He put a fan on the inside of the engine.
You know what's funny? We saw a client yesterday, and they had the most amazing offices.
Did you see that guy when we walked past him? He didn't have a desk. He had a couch with a table, and he had a flat screen on the wall.
My point is, why'd you pick limos? like we go to all these amazing places, and we service all these amazing companies, and what do you
do when you don't speak the language?
You drive a car.
He worked in a gas station, and he knew how to fix a car. And he was working in this gas station, and a guy would come to gas up. Mel Lightman would come and gas up the car.
Yep.
And Mel's wife, Gloria, had been, they had a partnership, and he ran a pretty big wedding business with his limos.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife was involved in a terrible collision with a truck, and she was brain damaged. And when she was brain damaged, she could no longer answer his phones. He never deserted her either. It was it was a beautiful love story. And Mel would say to David, come to the Empire State, get a car. Come to the Empire State Building. I'll teach you how to hustle. And Mel taught Daddy how to hustle. They used to go to the Empire State Building, and he taught him what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it, Daddy didn't speak English well. He didn't know his way around well. And yet what guts it took to do that.
What advice do you have for an entrepreneur today? Not the big guys, not the quote unquote competitors. What advice would you give?
Mm-hmm.
To someone who's just starting out in any business?
You know what? I'm specifically saying the car service business, because we're getting younger, right? You went on the floor. There were a few young guys.
But entrepreneur advice is evergreen. So what would you give?
And the same advice your father gave you when you wanted to open a restaurant. What did he tell you?
Go work in a restaurant.
That's right.
Right.
It may not be for you.
Right.
You may have an idea that you think, and don't expect, because we did another startup, right, with the books, which is another podcast. don't expect, the biggest mistake people make is expecting to have success right away, or that they're going to make money.
It takes
they're gonna
years.
It takes years.
Yeah. That's what I said in Just Ask the Universe.
We're still waiting.
Yeah, that's what I said. Still waiting.
We're still, in Just Ask the Universe, where you play, an idea is a seed, and you plant the seed. You can't expect the tree to grow overnight.
But that's why Gary Vee says, he's like, if you don't, you have to enjoy the process.
Right. That, Eric, I have loved every day of my life, and that is the greatest gift your father gave me.
Right.
Yeah.
I have loved every day of I work with the best people in the world. They are my family. Every time we mentioned just a fraction of them. And I'm sorry if we left anybody out in our little Oscar speech. But let me tell you, I come to work every day. I see my children. I see my brother. I see my sister-in-law. I see people that are become like my family. And it's so genuine. I miss them. Even the ones that left us. Yeah. Each parting was really sorry and sad, because I love those people.
Yeah.
And you know what? BLS is a WIP. Do you know what that is? Work in progress. That's the mistake, people. You're never going to get there.
Right.
You're never going to get. It's just about the journey.
Yeah. 100%.
If people accept that,
they'll be happy.
They'll enjoy their life. What they don't understand is this is it.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
If you don't wake up every day and say, I love my life, I'm having a good time. I may have a little bump in the road. I may have a little bit of a sad day.
Sure.
But if you're not loving your life and enjoying what you do, then sit back, breathe, and figure it out.
Right.
Because this is it. There's no second chance. There's no do-overs.
That was beautiful.
That was awesome. With that, we have to end this.
Why? That was the longest podcast we've done?
Yeah, just by a few minutes. But, I'm a firm believer in wanting for more. So
thank you, Mom.
That was awesome, Mom.
Thank you, kids. Thank you.
That was fun. You're never coming back on here again.
I wanted to say that I'm really proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks,
I
Mommy.
hope this is our most popular podcast.
Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah. All right. Enough with the fucking.
So I'm Eric. That's Michael. That's Phyllis.
That was fun, guys.
We're Okon Bros. That's Okon Mom.
Okon Moms.
And
there'll be more.
That concludes our podcast. And
leave comments below. Subscribe. We gotta start saying that, right? Subscribe. Leave comments below. And thank you, guys.
And they need comments. Let them know what you like and what you don't like. Please
criticize the shit out of us.
Yeah, no,
we'll
really.
Take it.
We'll take it.
That's how they will improve.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
See y'all later.
Bye bye.